recorded a couple of our songs for us. We did a lot of fun stuff. But we also studied the Word every day, and we prayed every day. That's one of the things that happens when you travel with a pastor. You get up early. You get up early. I thought I was early, right? I got up at 6 o'clock, and I walked in the other room, and Zach's already sitting up on the bed with a guitar in his hand.
He never went to bed.
Listen how cool this is. Jim Horn had 3 acoustic guitars at his house and brought them over to us. And he's a saxophone player. What's he doing with 3 acoustic guitars?
Firewood.
Kenny Chesney gave him one. One he's had for years that he writes songs on, and then the other one he bought for his daughter. But that was amazing. Then he went to another studio and we borrowed. So we didn't take any guitars. We figured there's plenty of guitars in Nashville. And lo and behold, we went to a studio and we borrowed 2 electric guitars. One of them probably been on how many sessions? 1,000. Yeah. And who else had played that guitar?
It makes baddest guitarist.
He's the baddest guitar player in Nashville. But one of the things we did was study the Word of God. And
yes, we did.
How the book of Psalms and the prayers of the prophets were set to music. And you'll see the word Shiganoth in there. And so we had to learn what is Shiganoth.
Shiganoth is wild, joyful, triumphant music. Like what we do on stage whenever we give y'all good work.
That's right. And if you look at the book of Psalms, about every 4 or 5 verses, it says Selah. What is that?
Selah is the instrumental music. Prayer. Like whenever Mike does a solo, see how I feel the spirit. Whenever we all do solos.
So they not only learned about guitar music and recording sessions in Nashville, Tennessee, they also learned something about the Word of God. And then when we were here last, Pastor Ron was here, and he talked about what the devil is using to steal our faith and our hope and our love. Do you remember that? What were they using?
The devil is trying to, he tries to get us to, instead of having faith, we develop skepticism. And that's like, you're skeptical of if God's real, or any way to steer you away from the faith of God and make you not believe. He tries to replace faith with skepticism. He, instead of having the hope for God, you try to develop cynicism. And when you're really cynical, just negative about everything. And I've been like that before. I think we all have. You're just negative the whole day, It's just like, nothing can go right, That's him trying to steal your joy. The last one is love. And he replaces that with criticism. And criticism is like, you criticize everything that's against the word of love. And you criticize what everyone believes in, and maybe what your neighbor is doing or something. So it's...
All right.
Anyway, we had a great time in the Word, and tell us a little bit about what you all did there besides.
Of course, we got to hang out with Jim Horn. He's the big dog in Nashville, and I mean, it was pretty amazing. Like when we went there, this really expensive restaurant called The Palm. I swear, I think the food was like $30 for a person. It was pretty crazy. So we walked in there, he was just sitting there, and Jim Horn has been a huge influence on me for a long time. He's played with all of my heroes on guitar and everything. So when I first went up and met him, I was just almost bowing to him. I went and shook his hand. I was like, man, it's just such a pleasure. Man, this is so touching. And he's just like, oh yeah, man. He's got this pretty reminder. I mean, because he has a huge California accent and everything. Whenever you told him a story, he was always like, oh yeah, man. So I was like, how was that session you did with the Steely Dan stuff? And he's like, oh yeah, it was great, man. So he would always say, that was one of the highlights of the whole trip. So he was like, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden, we're going to these guitar shops with Pastor Mike, and then this one guy actually, that owned this at this guitar shop. It's like one of the most expensive guitar shops in Nashville. It's called Broom Guitars. One of the owners was actually at a performance that Mike played at. It was an album called Cannonball Adderley live at the Troubadour. It's a really rare album I've read about, and he was like, oh yeah, he was there, and all of a sudden they're talking for a long time. The next thing you know, we get to go to this guitar vault just because we're with Mike and stuff. So this was like a lifetime thing, just going up there, seeing these guitars that were worth like thousands of dollars.
$100,000.
And then next thing you know, like, then we were about to go lunch with Jim, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, I'm just going to give you all a bunch of free little guitar stuff and all that, all different things like that. And so we go in and just pick all the picks that we needed. Love it. That was it. And then,
Call favorite.
then Mike drove us around, like, Music Row, and then Jim, we were with Jim like a lot, so Jim drove us around all the big time studios. And one of the studios that we were at was actually a big studio where a lot of country stars, actually where Mike recorded, and he wanted me to play guitar and stuff. So it was a really, really cool experience. I mean, it was like, you're in a studio where like the Rascal Flatts and George Strait, just like, I asked the bass player that played on the session, he was like, in the mid-90s, this studio was like really hitting it really big back in the country days. And he said now it's still doing it, but it's not like it was like when it first was like that. But I mean, there's all kinds of studios up there. I mean, like, it's like if you were going down a street and you saw houses like on each side. They're all studios. It was just like, all you had to do is walk in the house and there's all this equipment. You know, like in one house where we got the guitars at, it was like, this guy, like, it looked like he was rebuilding a studio, but we all walk in and like, it's just like a normal house, just there's equipment everywhere. So you're walking in and there's just these other session guys in there. So it was pretty amazing. You know, as far as that part.
There was no furniture in the house. It was just
yeah.
One room had drums, one room had guitars, one room had a mixing board.
It was overall it was a great experience, and you know, I love Pastor Kathy and Pastor Mike. This was like so unbelievable because I mean, like, we're like young kids and they get to experience this, and I'm happy that that they see our gift and music, and we just hope with God, like it was a huge blessing, huge. But being able to like physically hang with one was like it really touched my heart. It was just a great overall time we had. Just being able to hang out with him for 3 days, and it was just a really great trip. It was awesome.
What do you say after that? Everything we did.
Let's start talking. It'll come to you.
Friday night was probably my favorite though. Friday, I mean the whole day was great. That was the day that he recorded. And I didn't record anything. Zach was doing a guitar bar, but I was right by the producer. So I was seeing everything go down from like, not playing. Every time I've been in the studio, I've been one being recorded. And so, yeah. So now I'm like sitting here next to the producer. It's crazy. And he's like, they're so knowledgeable. They know all these big words. They know how to run like it. And I definitely don't, So I thought it was cool. And, I wanted to learn how to use Pro Tools because that was some awesome stuff. He was making all these.
Pro Tools is a recording system that is common to all major studios. It's also what I have at my house. And so what we recorded in Nashville, I brought home and I'm dumping it into my computer so that when he could add voices and sing, we just recorded live drums there. We actually have a recording set from Zach played and Matt produced. We had a great time. That Friday night.
Yeah, later on the day we. By the way, the restaurants we ate at every day were awesome.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there was a bad restaurant.
The Palm
connoisseur.
The Palm was the most expensive. The Palm was the most expensive, but everything else was, it was easy. Everybody.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, even the hotel, they custom cooked almost.
Oh man, best breakfast food.
They had an Omaha Steakhouse in the hotel too.
These guys can eat, by the way.
It's the only thing I love.
They have
just making music is food. So. I love to eat. I don't look like it, but I can't seem to put on the weight. On the subject here. Friday night we went to a club, 3rd and Lindsley, and we saw an Allman Brothers cover band. And one of the guests that the band kind of invited up to play a couple of songs was one of the guitarists in Allman Brothers. But he's kind of retired. And that guy, he played it lick for lick. He played it, of course, better than the guys that he was playing with, the other guitar player. It was phenomenal.
They're playing these Allman Brothers songs note for note, right?
Yeah.
And all these guitar parts. I'm not watching that. I'm watching Matt's hands. Because Matt years old. There was nothing happening on that stage that we couldn't do.
Yeah.
His hands were playing the licks right along with the guy. I nudged Jim Horn and said, look at his hands.
What's going on? No, it's like, I wanted to get up there so bad. It wasn't my game, I don't care.
But it was also really historical that like we got to see that like nobody else got to witness, was just seeing Mike and Jim talk back about their high school days and how they were like, man, we've been that 50 years ago, man. You know, but it was just that was like such a historical moment. And me and Matt were gonna make CDs and stuff. We're gonna bring them to the church. So we actually have some footage that we took. Matt had a video camera and he forgot to take the charger. So like the last footage we
I got the first 2 days, but we were driving around in the car.
But it was just so cool, like seeing them like talk about their past, the people that they played with, and what they see now in the business. I mean, that was probably like one of the highlights too, just being in front of them, and us sitting next to Jim, and just. Didn't they call the bass player for Toto? One of the original bass players for Toto. He couldn't make it on the session because he said he was feeling soft. He said that he was moving furniture for like the past 3 days, and I was too tired.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they got to meet all the musicians and be introduced to
Oh,
them.
yeah. The studio sessions are crazy. Those studio dudes are funny.
Jim knows everybody.
Yeah.
It was like
There's some
person
good
you
dudes.
did not know. It's like everywhere you went, you knew who he was because
They come up and find us.
That was cool.
Well, give them a good round of applause. It was an amazing adventure. Travis